Discover the incredible billionaire lifestyle, 1 hour of touching, life-changing visualization from your cozy little workshop. Jake wiped his grease-stained hands on an old rag, his heart racing with the tantalizing prospect flickering on his phone. A job offer from Synergy Motors' big corporate auto manufacturing, higher salary, and the allure of prestige. He could almost taste the American dream, so close he could reach out and grab it. But then he looked around his cramped workshop, cluttered with tools and memories. This messy haven was more than a job, it was home. It was where he forged his identity. Every squeak of the door signaled a neighbor's arrival, a familiar face needing help. "Hey, Jake. My truck won't start again," they'd call, their hopes resting on his skilled hands. He loved it the way people lit up when he set things right. It was more than fixing cars, it was about community. His father taught him that, he'd sacrificed so much to raise Jake and his sister. His mother, too, juggled jobs, keeping them afloat with grit and determination. Family wasn't just important, it was everything. Yet here he stood, the tension of the job offer thick in the air. Was he truly willing to leave behind the warmth of his family and the tight-knit community he cherished? Rent was due, and bills piled high like discarded engine parts. His gut twisted. Glory and wealth danced before him, tantalizing and hollow, while love and loyalty tugged at his heartstrings. Then the news hit like a punch. His coworker, a face he trusted, undercut him for that same dream. The taste of betrayal soured the air. Confrontation ensued, harsh words exchanged, echoes of disappointment from his father ringing louder than ever. "Why would you choose ambition over the people who raised you?" Jake felt the weight of accusation settle in his chest. It was a struggle, battling the societal prejudices that dictated who deserved success. Jake sat on his workbench, crushed under the burden of choices. Teardrops of realization fell as he recognized how society often overlooked those in the trenches, the ones who truly mattered. Moments of clarity flickered through the chaos. What did it mean to be wealthy? Full pockets could not rival a heart rich in love and community. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The silence engulfed him as he glared out the window. The buzz of the city below felt distant yet alive. It was in that silence that a buried conversation with his father surfaced, shedding light on the sacrifices hidden behind their family's routine. Would chasing a dream of success create a rift that would tear them apart? Jake inhaled deeply, recognizing the potential legacy of love and hard work, weary yet unwavering. He stood, heart pounding, wavering at the intersection of ambition and loyalty. With his loved one's shadows bridging behind, he faced the endless horizon of possibility, wrestling with questions that demanded answers. Was ambition worth the cost? Did success defined by wealth eclipse the riches of integrity and community? The weight pressed down like a heavy hood, leaving only whispers of hope amidst the chaos. Jake's heart raced as he fought to make sense of the storm inside him. With the city humming below, he envisioned the office at Synergy Motors, a sleek, polished space, bright lights reflecting off pristine surfaces. He could picture the suits, the high fives after closed deals, and the rush of riding the elevator to the top floor where success glittered like gold. But as enticing as that vision was, it felt unmoored, a fantasy stripped of the warmth of his workshop. He turned back to the workbench, his trusted companion through countless projects. Each dented tool, each worn piece of canvas told stories of triumphs, failures, lessons learned. He could not simply walk away from it all. But the desperation of his financial situation clawed at him. How many more times could he help his neighbors with their cars without securing a stable paycheck? With a sense of resolve building, he picked up a wrench, its cool surface grounding him. He needed to confront his feelings head-on. Maybe it was time to redefine success. Could it be possible to achieve the so-called dream without losing sight of what truly mattered? Just then, the door creaked open, and the soft jingle of the bell pulled him back to the present. It was Carla, the single mom from down the street. Her face was flushed with anxiety. "Jake, I'm so glad you're here. My brake lights aren't working, and I think it might." "Don't worry," he interrupted, guiding her toward the workbench. Seeing the worry in her eyes, he felt an invisible chain pulling at his heart. He couldn't remember the last time he felt this alive, being useful, being needed. Maybe true wealth wasn't just about financial gain, it was about the connections he forged with people who mattered. "Let me see," he said, kneeling down to inspect the car. The moment he got under the back bumper, the world above seemed to fade away. He focused solely on the task at hand, the familiar smells of oil and gas bringing a wave of comfort. With each bolt he removed, each wire he carefully handled, Jake felt his worries begin to dissolve. There was a rhythm to the work, almost like a dance between him and the machine. After a few minutes, he found the problem: one snapped wire. No big deal. It was a small fix, but big for someone like Carla, who didn't have the luxury of time or money to waste. 5 minutes later, he stood, wiping his hands on a rag again, the smile spreading across his face as he stepped back to admire his handiwork. "Carla, you're good to go." Her relief was palpable, her eyes watering as she looked up at him. "I don't know what I'd do without you, Jake." And just like that, clarity washed over him. He was exactly where he needed to be. A part of something bigger, a community woven together by mutual trust and support. It wasn't about fame. It was about heart. But what would his father say? Would he be proud of this decision? And what of the job offer? The temptation still tugged at his mind, whispering sweet nothings of ambition and status. Now, Jake faced more than a choice about work, it clawed deeper, pulling at his core beliefs. The answer stirred restlessly within him. How could he stay true to his roots while embracing the world outside? He sighed, uncertainty swelling. As Carla drove off, a new message pinged on his phone. Snatching it up, Jake's eyes widened. It was an email from Synergy Motors, and the subject line read, "Urgent response required." His heart raced, not with excitement this time, but with the weight of impending choices. Would he grasp both the dream and the love? Would he walk one path, exile the other, or somehow merge the two? With feelings crashing within him like a storm, Jake took a deep breath, staring at the screen, his next choice looming ahead. Jake stared at the glowing screen, the words of the email a siren call, promising legitimacy and security. The future loomed ahead like a chasm, dark but tempting. He felt as if he were standing at the edge of a precipice, uncertainty swirling around him. Should he leap into conventional success, or would that mean abandoning who he truly was? As he wrestled with his thoughts, he noticed the workshop door creaking open again. This time, it was Sam, the elderly man from across the street, wearing a worn cap and a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "Hey there, Jake. You got a minute? I think something's wrong with my lawnmower." Jake forced a smile, grateful for the distraction. "Of course, Sam. Let us have a look." Together they walked over to Sam's small shed. The air was filled with the scent of freshly cut grass and blooming flowers. The buzzing of bees lingered in the background, a soft score to their activities. As Sam explained the problem, Jake let himself breathe. Helping others remained his sanctuary. Laying on the ground, he felt a familiar grounding sensation. Memories of working on various machines rushed back, his father's hands guiding him through repairs, the laughter shared over simple tasks. This was the legacy he wanted to preserve. Every turn of the wrench, each spark from the ignition, reminded him of the love that had carried him through tougher days. After a few minutes, he found the issue: a stubborn blade that needed sharpening. The fix was quick, more straightforward than he had expected, but Sam's gratitude warmed his heart. The old man's face lit up like a kid unwrapping a gift. "You're a lifesaver, Jake. I don't know what I'd do without you." Jake felt a swell of pride and fulfillment. Not only had he solved a problem, but he had also fortified the connection with his neighbor. This was wealth, he thought, the kind that couldn't be measured by bank accounts. Once they finished, Sam sat on his porch, enjoying the soft breeze. "You know, Jake, I've been watching you. You've got this gift for fixing things." His eyes glinted with something profound. "It's not just machines you fix. You're keeping this community running." Jake felt a lump in his throat. No matter how loud the call of corporate life grew, this validation meant the world to him. Yet, as he looked down at his hands, stained with grease and dirt, the weight of the email returned. Did he dare give all this up in pursuit of a different kind of success? His phone buzzed again, another alert from Synergy Motors, this time a reminder. The offer expires in 48 hours. Panic crept in. Could he really turn his back on a shot at stability, at a life that could lift him out of the uncertainty? Feeling overwhelmed, he thanked Sam and stepped outside, the sun warm on his face. He closed his eyes, letting the cool breeze wash over him. When he opened them, he made a decision: he wouldn't quit on himself or his community without exploring the truth of this opportunity. There had to be a way to blend both worlds. With new determination, he turned toward the workshop, ready to figure out how to merge his passions with the prospects awaiting him. Just as he reached for the door handle, a familiar voice echoed from behind him. "Jake." Carla was back, anxiety sweeping across her expression again. "I need your help, it's urgent." Jake turned to face her, heart racing with questions. What now? Was he ready to open this door again? The storm inside him swirled anew, stronger than ever. Carla's eyes were wide, glistening with urgency. She stood at the edge of the porch, like a lighthouse in a storm, beckoning Jake toward her. Her voice quaked, scrambling to find words that felt quite right. "It's my sister, Jess. She's in trouble." Jake's heart sank. Jess was always the steady one, light-hearted and strong. "What happened?" he asked, the world around him dimming as he focused on Carla's troubled face. "She's been struggling with her business," Carla admitted. "And now, some investors are trying to pull a fast one on her. They want to buy her out for a fraction of what it's worth. It's not fair, Jake. I don't know who else to turn to." The urgency of her plea struck deep. He felt that familiar stir of instinct, the desire to help, to fix what was broken. "Where is she?" "Let us go talk to her," he said, his calloused hands instinctively reaching for his toolbox, readying for repair, a different kind of repair. As she led him to her car, Jake's mind raced. He knew he had to balance this with the weight of the email still sitting in his pocket. The notion of corporate security was plastered across his thoughts, but seeing Carla's distress fought back the looming dread. He had chosen to explore both worlds, and today is going to be a defining moment. They drove through the winding streets, the sun hanging low in the sky, painting everything golden. Carla's fingers began drumming nervously against her leg as they neared Jess's shop, a small boutique filled with handmade crafts. Jake noticed how the vibrant colors of the storefront seemed to fade as they approached, reflecting the heart of the situation. When they stepped inside, Jess was hunched over her cluttered desk, surrounded by sketches and fabric swatches. The strained expression on her face screamed for help. "Jess," Carla called softly. The woman raised her head slowly, a mix of relief and concern washing over her. "I'm so glad you're here," Jess said, her voice almost breaking. "I don't even know where to begin. I've been getting pressure from these guys to sell." Before she could finish, Carla jumped in. "They want to take advantage of you. I brought Jake. He is the best at problem solving. Maybe he can help us figure this out." Jess looked up at him, eyes wide and hopeful. "You can help?" Jake felt the weight settle on his shoulders. He cleared his throat, the uncertainty creeping back. "I'll do my best. Let us look at everything." Together, they gathered around the table, poring over contracts and proposals, the atmosphere thick with tension. As he parsed through the legal jargon, Jake's confidence began to grow. He had spent years fixing things, learning the ins and outs of mechanical blues. This was just another puzzle to solve. Hours slipped by, but Jake felt his mind clicking into gear, adrenaline pumping through his veins. This was what he loved, the thrill of a challenge, the camaraderie of collaboration. Slowly, Jess opened up about her designs, her dreams, painting a picture of her passion and dedication that awoke something deep inside Jake. As she spoke, memories of his father and their shared projects flooded back, inspiring him and fueling his drive. Perhaps this was the bridge he was looking for, the blending of his passion for crafting with the kind of success that could elevate the community around him. When they finally laid the contracts aside, a quiet resolve settled over them. Jess's voice trembled as she said, "You really think we can fight this?" Jake looked into her eyes, determination surging. "Absolutely. You've built something incredible, and it's worth every ounce of the fight." Just as hope illuminated Jess's expression, Carla interrupted, her phone buzzing loudly in the silence. She glanced at the screen, her face falling slightly. "It's Synergy Motors," she murmured. The urgency of what came next hung in the air, thick and palpable. Jake's stomach dropped. What if the email couldn't wait? What if today was a tipping point? Would he sacrifice everything again for the promise of something that might pull him away from helping those who truly mattered? As Jake felt the tension of the moment peak, a new dilemma formed. Would he choose the corporation waiting for him in the email, or stand by the side of those who needed him most? "Jake?" Carla's voice cut through his thoughts, pulling him back. "What are you going to do?" The question hung like a suspended cord, ready to resolve into something extraordinary or shatter into silence. Jake's heart raced. Carla's gaze was desperate, and it felt like the weight of the world pressed down on him. The phone buzzing in Carla's hand was like a ticking clock he couldn't ignore. For a moment, he was paralyzed, caught in a web of uncertainty. Maybe it's just a quick call." "You can take it," Jess suggested, her voice wavering. "No," Jake said, shaking his head. "No, I can't do that. Not now." He could sense Carla's urgency rising again, flickering like a candle in a draft. But the pull of responsibility weighed heavier than ever. "Jess, if we want to fight this, we need to start making bold moves. I need to know every detail about these investors, who they are, what they want." "Right," Jess nodded, her determination igniting. "I have their emails. It's just a rat race of back and forth right now. I don't even know how much time we have before they pull the trigger." Jake locked eyes with her. This was his moment of truth. He could walk away, leave it all behind, chase the security that Synergy Motors represented. Or he could sink deeper into this fight, into helping Carla and Jess not just survive but thrive. In this moment of uncertainty, clarity surged through him. "I can help you craft a counteroffer. We've got to show them you're not just some small-time shop waiting for a buyout." Carla smiled faintly, hope threading into her anxiety. "You really think we can turn this around?" "Absolutely," Jake affirmed, feeling a swell of belief. As they gathered the scattered papers on the desk and strategized their approach, he felt adrenaline electrifying his veins. Each piece of fabric and each design sketch ignited a new fire within him. This was more than just saving Jess's business, it was about standing with them, fighting for dreams that deserved to be realized. They spent the next few hours crafting a plan, shuffling through documentation, each word a step closer to empowerment. Hours blurred into one another, the room filled with energy as ideas bounced back and forth. Jess spoke passionately about her vision, lighting a spark in Jake. They filled out forms, drafted responses, and for the first time in a while, Jake felt truly alive. Eventually, the sun dipped lower outside, casting long shadows across the stacks of papers cluttering the table. Jake paused, glancing up at the two women who had reignited his sense of purpose. "All right, I think we're ready to send a response." Jess exhaled, her fear briefly replaced with confidence. "Let us do it. Let us show them what we're made of." Just then, Carla's phone buzzed again, breaking the moment. She glanced at it, her brow furrowing deeper. "It's Synergy again." A chill ran down Jake's spine. The corporation wasn't just a looming specter anymore, it was knocking at his door, demanding attention. The lingering question echoed in his mind. Could he abandon the safety net for the chaos of creativity and connection? Would he heed the siren call of financial stability or dive headfirst into a chaos filled with passion, community, and family ties? Jake Carla's voice trembled slightly. What if they're calling about your position? What does this mean for us? The answer loomed heavy between them, a palpable tension that could snap. Would he turn back, or step forward into the unknown? As he stared into Carla's pleading eyes, he felt the ground shift. It was time to make a choice, and the stakes had never been higher. Do I follow the safety of certainty, or follow you two into the storm? He thought, feeling the moment shift. The choice would redefine everything. Jake's hand trembled slightly as he looked from the phone to Carla, his mind swirling with possibilities. He wanted to reach out, take her hand, find comfort in her presence amidst the chaos. The weight of his decision pressed down even harder. This was not just about him anymore, it was about the future of Jess's dream, and the hopes of an entire community that relied on it. Carla, he finally spoke, each word weighted. We can't let this define us. We can't let them push us into a corner. He felt a fire kindling in his chest, a desperate need to fight against not just Synergy Motors, but what they represented. With a sharp intake of breath, Carla nodded. You're right. But what if they retaliate? What if they pull the offer? Jake couldn't answer her right away. The thought gnawed at him, but he quickly shook it off. Then we get on the offensive. Show them we're not just going to lie down, he urged, the sound of his own voice pushing him forward. Jess looked between them, her determination evident. Let us respond now, she said, her fingers steepled against her chin. If we act fast, they won't have time to reconsider. Jake was all in now. Exactly. Let us lay it out. Show them our value, everything we stand for. They gathered around the small table once more, fueled by adrenaline and purpose. Each word they typed felt like a step toward reclaiming their narrative. As they crafted the email, Carla's phone buzzed incessantly. The tension hung in the air, but they chose to ignore it. This was their moment. They wrote passionately, detailing their vision, emphasizing their commitment to the community and the uniqueness of Jess's designs. But just as they were about to hit send, the phone buzzed yet again. This time, Carla glanced at the screen long enough for fear to flit across her features. It's a voicemail from Synergy, she said, and her voice trembled. Play it, Jake urged, a knot forming in his stomach. With hesitant fingers, Carla hit play. Miss Alcaraz, the voice on the other end began, smooth and authoritative. We need to discuss your counteroffer, but I also need to instruct you about some critical developments regarding your contract. Please call me back at your earliest convenience. The silence that followed was suffocating. Jake exchanged a glance with Jess, both of their minds racing. This was it, what Jake had feared and longed for at the same time. They had literally written their own fate just moments before. What does that mean? Carla whispered, her eyes wide. It means they're not done with us yet, Jake replied, his heart pounding in his chest. Maybe it's good, Jess chimed in, trying to grab onto hope. They want to negotiate. But as Carla's phone lit up once more, Jake felt a wave of uncertainty crash over him. They were teetering on a precipice, the future hanging in the balance, as fragile as the designs Jess had poured her heart into. Should we call back? Carla asked, searching Jake's face for answers. What if they're trying to manipulate us? Jake felt the weight of the decision crush down again. There was safety in silence, but the fight was out there. We have to take a risk, he said at last, resolve replacing doubt. We have to confront them. With the pulse of urgency thrumming in the room, he reached for Carla's phone. It was time to reach for the unknown. But would they be prepared for what lay ahead, and would they even be able to navigate the treacherous waters of corporate negotiations? As his finger hovered over the call button, a million questions raced through his mind. Would they rise together or be brought crashing down? In that charged moment, the decision felt monumental, a looming storm on the horizon, just waiting to break. What they chose next would shape everything. Jake's hand finally pressed the call button, and the room held its breath. He felt the electric pulse in the air as if a flicker of static had just arced between their faces. Carla's eyes widened and Jess leaned closer, ready to catch every word from the other end like lifelines thrown into turbulent waters. The call was answered on the second ring. "Miss Alcaraz," the voice resumed, smooth but laced with an edge that made Jake's skin prick. "Thank you for returning my call. I'm glad we could connect directly. Let us cut to the chase, shall we?" Jake interrupted, unable to mask the tension in his tone. "We just sent you our counteroffer. We need to talk about what that means for both of us." A slight pause lingered before the voice replied. "I appreciate your initiative, Jake. However, there are certain stipulations we need to address first. Important updates regarding the contract, not just yours, but the projects aligned with it." A knot twisted tighter in Jake's stomach. "What kind of stipulations?" he demanded, gripping Carla's hand beneath the table. "We believe the community aspect of your proposal is admirable, but we see potential conflicts there. We might need to adjust your plan. You understand, these are standard corporate procedures." The voice dripped with disingenuous empathy. "Conflicts?" Carla echoed, her voice barely above a whisper. "What are you talking about?" "Synergy Motors has its own initiatives in mind. We're interested in steering the project toward a more centralized model to maximize our investment." The speaker's tone shifted, making it sound as though they were imparting a great favor. Jake could barely control his rising anger. "This isn't just a project to us. It represents a lifeline for our community. Jess worked hard for this, which is why we need to protect our interests as well." The voice cut him off, a bit harsher now. "Consider this a partnership, can be a two-way street, but it has to be mutually beneficial. If you refuse to cooperate, we can reassess our offer." It felt like a punch to the gut. Jake glanced at Jess, her eyes were wide, glistening with an emotion he couldn't quite place. "Look," he began, forcing himself to remain calm, "we're prepared to negotiate, but not at the expense of what this means for the people who believe in our vision. They deserve better than just being numbers on your spreadsheet." "Patience, my friend," the voice responded, coolly. "Let us not make this personal. We're simply laying groundwork for a functional partnership. Everyone has their price, don't they?" Carla's face paled, the reality of their situation sinking in deeper. Jake's pulse quickened, he felt fire and ice battling inside him. "We're not just a project," he managed to say, his voice steadier than he felt. "We're a community." "If you can see that, Jake," the voice interjected calmly, "think of the opportunity. What would a definitive yes mean for your future? For Jess and your clientele? What it means is we'll lose everything we work for if we sacrifice our principles," Jake countered, trying to speak over the rising tide of frustration. "I won't let you strip that away from us." There was a silence on the other end, and for a moment, Jake wondered if they had lost the connection. "Very well, then. But know this, if this doesn't work out, there are other contenders waiting, prepared to take right where we left off. Don't miscalculate your options." Then, the line went dead. Jake dropped the phone onto the table, his breath coming in quick bursts. Carla stared at him, a whirlpool of conflicting emotions swirling in her gaze. Jess sat frozen, her hands gripping the edges of the table as if it were the only thing keeping her grounded. "What do we do now?" Jess finally whispered, her voice barely above a tremulous breath. Jake looked at both of them and felt something fiercely unsettling boil within him. They weren't just up against a corporation, they were fighting for their souls, their beliefs, and their community. He didn't have an answer yet, but the fight had begun. And as they faced the uncertain depths of the future, one thing grew clear: the stakes had just been raised. What would be the next move in a game that could either lift them up or crush them entirely? Jake's heart raced as the room seemed to close in around them. The air felt thick with uncertainty and fear. He could almost hear the clock ticking, reminding him that time was not on their side. "We need a plan," he said, breaking the silence that settled like a weighty fog. Carla's brow furrowed, worry lines deepening as she leaned forward, pressing her palms together. "What if we gather more community support? If we can show them how much this means, maybe they'll reconsider." Jess nodded, her eyes lighting up with a spark of hope. "Yeah. We can host a community meeting. Show them how the project can help and get everyone rallied behind us." "If they think we're serious," her voice trailed off, but the implication hung in the air. Jake rubbed the back of his neck, feeling the strain of decisions weighing him down. "That's a good idea, but it's risky. They could use our desperation against us." Carla shot him a knowing glance. "But it's a risk we have to take, Jake. They think they can intimidate us into submission. If we show that we want to back down, maybe we can turn the tide." Jake watched as their emotions danced from doubt to determination. They had always been a team, but this challenge felt different. It was bigger than any project they'd faced before. This wasn't just about a building or a contract, it was about their future and everything they believed in. "Okay," he said finally, looking at each of them in turn. His voice was steady but filled with urgency. "Let us set the meeting for tomorrow night. We'll prepare a presentation. Let people know what's at stake. We need everyone on board." Jess took a breath, sharing a glance with Carla that spoke volumes. "I'll reach out to the community center. Get the word out. We need everyone there," she said, determination etched across her features. "And I'll see if I can pull together some visuals to really drive our point home," Carla added, already scrolling through her phone to look for contacts. Jake felt a swell of hope. This was the kind of fight they thrived on together. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the room, her phone buzzed incessantly to life. It was a notification from a local news outlet. "There's a story about Synergy Motors and their recent controversies. They're not just after us, there might be a pattern of pushing communities aside for profits," Carla said, her enthusiasm growing. "Let us use that," Jake suggested. "We can show that they're not the golden child everyone expects. This is bigger than us." "If the media runs with this," Jess interrupted, her thoughts racing. "We can use the news to our advantage. Make them think twice before moving forward with us. We just need to keep momentum." The night loomed ahead, fraught with tension and the uncertainty of what might come, but for the first time since the call, a sense of unity coursed through Jake. They were going to fight this, for their community, for their dreams, no matter the obstacles ahead. As they each shifted into their roles, the weight of the task ahead settled with renewed determination. The stakes were high, but so was their resolve. But in the back of Jake's mind, a voice echoed, "What if this backfired? What if the corporation had plans far beyond just one project?" He knew they were in deep waters, and the sharks were circling. "Everyone has their price, remember," he murmured under his breath, almost to himself. And as he watched Carla and Jess prepare, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger battle. Would they be strong enough to weather the storm, or would they soon be swept away? Tomorrow would tell. The next day dawned with a kind of unease that clung to the air like morning fog. Jake's stomach twisted in knots as he reviewed the presentation for the meeting that night. Each slide he created was laced with passion and urgency, but doubt gnawed at him. What if the community didn't show up? What if they didn't care? He arrived at the community center early, hoping to set the stage for what they needed to convey. The walls echoed with the chatter of friendly conversation, but his mind was racing with uncertainty. As he arranged the chairs and adjusted the projector, the place began to fill with familiar faces. A mix of old friends and new supporters, all united by a common goal: saving their dream. Carla arrived next, a stack of flyers in hand. She smiled warmly, though Jake could see the storm of nerves brewing behind her bright eyes. "I think people are starting to spread the word," she said, handing him a flyer. "It's not a huge crowd yet, but we have a chance." Let us just hope it's enough, Jake replied, attempting to voice reassurance that he didn't quite feel. Jess burst through the door, energetic and slightly breathless. I brought snacks, she shouted, holding up a box filled with pastries. The laughter that followed helped dissolve some of the tension in the room. It was a reminder that even in serious moments, joy could still be found. As the clock ticked closer to the meeting hour, they each took a moment to express their hopes or fears. Jake leaned against a wall, arms crossed tightly. What if they see through us? What if they think we're just kids playing grown-up? Carla stepped closer. We're not just kids, Jake. We're the future. If we don't stand up for ourselves, who will? The seconds ticked by, and with every minute, anticipation swelled. More community members filed in, their curious faces reflecting doubt, optimism, and, most importantly, the will to fight. Jake's heart raced as he watched them settle into chairs, whispering with each other while casting glances at the front where the projector stood ready. Jess took the first stride, addressing the gathering as they hushed. We're here because we care about our community, about what happens to this place we call home, she exclaimed. Her voice trembled, but it was filled with sincerity. We need to show Synergy Motors that we're united, and they can't just push us aside. As she spoke, Carla and Jake exchanged glances, feeling the palpable energy shift in the room. It felt strong, like a current flowing through them. Jake stepped up, determination fueling his every word. We've prepared some visuals to show how important this project is for all of us. This isn't just about a building. It's about our children and their future. When they moved to the presentation, anticipation thickened in the air. Each slide clicked into place, presenting facts, dreams, and voices of those who had been silenced. They shared testimonials from neighbors, citing how the loss would affect their lives, their kids, their sense of community. Jake saw faces nod in understanding, and his heart soared a bit higher. But just as the energy built, and they moved toward a passionate crescendo, the hall doors swung open again. In walked representatives from Synergy Motors. They weren't just there to listen, they were there to intimidate. The cold air seemed to chill the entire room, sucking the warmth from the gathered crowd. Jake's breath caught in his throat. This was it. They'd fought so hard to rally everyone together, but would they crumble under the corporate gaze? Carla caught Jake's eye once more, a flickering flame of courage igniting between them. The battle had just escalated. Would they stand their ground as the storm unleashed, or would they remain drowned in fear? The room fell silent, tension thick enough to cut with a knife. The representatives from Synergy Motors strolled in, all arrogance and tailored suits, like wolves in a henhouse. The air buzzed with uncertainty. Jake's heart raced as he stood firm, trying to quell the rising tide of doubt. Thank you for joining us, Jess said, her voice calm, yet shaky. We're here to talk about our community and the future of this project. Contrary to the warmth in Jess's words, the corporate faces offered nothing but cold smiles. Jake locked eyes with Carla. Their bond was their strength. They weren't just presenting facts, they were presenting hope. While we appreciate your enthusiasm, the lead suit began, voice dripping with condescension. This is a business decision. We must prioritize our investments. But it's not just a business decision for us. It's personal. Jake felt the fire rising inside him, urgency pushing him forward. You're talking about a community that has trusted us and believes in this vision. You can't just bulldoze over that. The room was electric. Whispers flitted through the gathering, a mix of support and uncertainty. Carla stepped closer to Jake, her voice steady but passionate. You think this is about profit margins, but listen, we're the heartbeat of this town. Our families will suffer if you proceed this way. We deserve to have a say in our future. For a moment, he thought he saw a flicker of understanding in the suit's eyes. Maybe they anticipated a fight, but little did they know just how deeply interwoven the community's fabric truly was. Your emotions won't secure our investment, one representative scoffed, crossing his arms. We need numbers, projections, the bottom line. This is an equation, not a charity. The collective energy shifted again. The community gathered in solidarity, emboldened by their voices. "We're not asking for charity. Just respect," Jess called out. "We're asking to be part of the conversation." In that moment, Jake felt a rush of clarity. He fought his own demons to arrive here to reclaim his worth and his dreams. Success isn't just cash flow. It's about lifting each other up, he insisted, thunder rising in his chest. "We're willing to negotiate, but what you're proposing is fundamentally wrong." The stares from the suits flickered towards each other, uncertainty stealing the boldness that had filled the room. Jake pressed on. "This is about legacy, about a future for our children. We invite you to be a part of something bigger, not just a short-term profit scheme." The minutes felt like hours as the suits exchanged glances. The line that separated them from corporate interests seemed to blur in the moment, and for the first time, Jake saw hesitation in their eyes. Carla turned to the crowd. "We're asking you to stand with us, to show them we're more than just numbers. We are a community." A unified cheer erupted from the room, voices lifting in crescendo. It was the sound of resolve. The tide had shifted. Jake turned back to the representatives, a new confidence blooming from deep within. "Can we count on your transparency moving forward? If you want to be part of this community, you need to acknowledge its value." The suits took a step back, weighed down by the sheer force of the moment. "All right," the lead suit finally replied, his facade cracking just a bit. "Let us discuss your proposal further. We'll keep you in the loop moving forward. But we still need assurances." That wasn't just a win, it was a breakthrough. A murmur of relief spread through the crowd. Jess beamed, pride ringing in her voice. "We'll show you that trust is something we won't take lightly." As the meeting continued, Jake felt hope blooming in the space where despair had once resided. They had started a dialogue, one that bridged their aspirations and the cold spreadsheets of the corporate world. The representatives eventually retreated, leaving behind a feeling of victory in their wake. As they walked out, the community erupted in cheers, the room alive with hope and triumph. Jake felt a tidal wave of gratitude wash over him. They stood together stronger than any corporation ever could. In that moment, he realized what true wealth was. It wasn't about bank balances or corporate ladders. It was in the bonds they had forged, the people who showed up to fight for each other. As Jake looked around the smiling faces, neighbors, friends, and family, he understood, at last, that he'd found the balance he craved. The chaos had transformed into something beautiful. "We did it!" Carla punched the air. Laughter erupted as Jess pulled her into a hug. Jake's heart swelled. They had forged their legacy that day, and it would ripple through their community for generations. As the celebration began, he felt the old fears melting away. He wasn't just dreaming of success anymore. He was living it, right there in the laughter and joy that surrounded him. Together, they would keep rebuilding and redefining what it meant to thrive. And as night fell, illuminating the dim community center, one thing stood undeniable: they had turned the tide. Now, there was no going back. As he embraced the warmth of his friends and neighbors, Jake looked up and smiled at the possibilities ahead. They were embarking on a journey filled with love, loyalty, and community. And he wouldn't have it any other way. Now here's what you need to do: subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. You need to subscribe now. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Every like makes a difference in spreading these important messages. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. I want to hear from you and how this story impacted you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the impact of supporting the channel through these actions.